Glob Map of Slovenia Introduction, a hidden gem in the heart of Europe. Slovenia. A name that often slips under the radar for many travelers, yet in the heart of Europe, it stands as a land of wonders waiting to be discovered. Nestled between Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Croatia, Slovenia might be small in size, but it is massive in its allure. When I first arrived, I had no idea what awaited me. I had heard stories, seen glimpses of its beauty, but nothing prepared me for the full splendor of what this country has to offer. This is a place where the natural world, rich history, and vibrant culture converge in a way that feels both timeless and utterly captivating. As I stepped off the plane and onto the soil of Ljubljana, Slovenia's capital, the first thing I noticed was the air. It was fresh, crisp, and filled with the promise of adventure. The city, a blend of old-world charm and modern innovation, greeted me with open arms. The old town's cobblestone streets and colorful buildings gave way to sleek, contemporary art galleries and trendy cafes, while the murmurs of the Ljubljana River flowing through the heart of the city created a peaceful soundtrack that promised to guide me on my journey. From the moment I arrived, I knew I was in a place that had a story to tell. Ljubljana, with its vibrant market squares and the towering Ljubljana Castle watching over the city, seemed to whisper of centuries of history. The city itself was a symbol of Slovenia's identity, a place that respects its past while embracing the future. Slovenia's story is one of resilience. It has fought for independence, fought against adversity, and fought to preserve its unique culture. After centuries of foreign rule, from the Romans and Venetians to the Austro-Hungarians and Yugoslavs, Slovenia finally declared its independence in 1991. The breathtaking scenery that spans from snow-capped alpine peaks to verdant valleys, rolling hills, and the sparkling Adriatic coast. Slovenia is a land of contrasts. One moment you are walking through medieval streets with ancient castles, the next you are hiking in the heart of the Julian Alps, surrounded by wildflowers and the sound of rushing streams. I was drawn to Slovenia by its reputation for being a hidden gem, a place of untamed beauty that hadn't yet been spoiled by mass tourism. What I didn't realize at first was just how much this small country had to offer: crystal clear lakes, deep caves, lush forests, charming villages, and a people whose warmth and hospitality make you feel right at home. Everywhere I looked, there was something new to discover. Driving through the countryside, the landscape seemed to shift with each passing mile. In one direction, the majestic Alps rose sharply against the horizon, their snow-covered peaks dusting the sky like powder. In another, the Mediterranean influence crept in with gentle hills covered in vineyards, olive groves, and charming stone villages. Further south, Slovenia's Adriatic coastline beckoned, a jewel of shimmering blue waters and ancient seaside towns that still carried the land of Alps and lakes. Slovenia's natural beauty. Slovenia's landscape is nothing short of magical, where every mountain, valley, lake, and forest tells its own story. From towering peaks dusted with snow to emerald lakes nestled in serene valleys, Slovenia is a country where nature takes center stage, offering a stunning diversity that seems almost too beautiful to be real. This chapter, however, is a celebration of the land, its rugged mountains, its tranquil lakes, and the lush forests that weave the fabric of this country's natural beauty. My journey begins in the heart of the Julian Alps, the crown jewel of Slovenia's mountainous terrain. The Alps rise majestically in the northwest corner of the country, their jagged peaks reaching skyward, as if they were an ancient fortress guarding the land. As I make my way toward the Triglav National Park, the first thing I notice is the silence. The air here is crisp, almost electric, and the only sound is the rustle of wind through the trees or the distant call of an eagle soaring above the peaks. Triglav, Slovenia's highest mountain, stands as a symbol of the country. Its name, derived from the Slovenian words tri, three, and glave, heads, refers to the triple peak that gives it its distinctive appearance. Triglav holds immense cultural significance for the Slovenians. It's not just the highest point in the country, but it represents the Slovenian spirit, resilient, proud, and deeply connected to the land. As I hike through the park, I am surrounded by thick forests of fir and pine, and I begin to understand why this national park is such a source of pride for the Slovenians. The beauty of the park is a perfect reflection of Slovenia itself, untamed, pure, and unspoiled by the rush of modern life. While the alpine terrain can be rugged and wild, there is something calming about it, too. The alpine meadows, in full bloom during the summer months, offer a patchwork of vibrant colors, wildflowers of every hue, their petals swaying gently in the breeze. The air smells of pine and earth, of the very essence of the mountains. It is easy to get lost in the beauty of the landscape, and it's clear that this is a place where both locals and travelers find solace. Further into the Julian Alps lies one of Slovenia's most famous natural treasures, Lake Bled. A place of such beauty that it feels like something out of a fairy tale, Lake Bled is a shimmering expanse of turquoise water surrounded by forested hills and dominated by the striking Bled Castle perched high on a cliff. The lake itself is small, but its surroundings are so breathtakingly picturesque that it's impossible not to be mesmerized by its beauty. The island in the center of the lake, home to the Church of the Assumption, adds a layer of mystique to the scene. I take a traditional wooden pletna boat to the island, gliding across the still waters as the distant peaks of the Alps rise above us. The people and culture, Slovenia's heart and soul, Slovenia's natural beauty is undeniable, but what truly makes this country come alive is the spirit of its people. The Slovenians are not just residents of a land rich in natural wonders, they are the stewards of a deep and ancient culture that has been passed down through generations. As I journeyed across this charming country, it became abundantly clear that the soul of Slovenia is embodied in its people, warm, welcoming, and proud of their heritage. It's easy to fall in love with the landscapes, the lakes, and the mountains, but it's the people you meet along the way that make the experience unforgettable. From the bustling capital of Ljubljana to the smallest village nestled in the hills, the Slovenians have an unshakable pride in their country and a deep love for their traditions. But it's not just pride, it's a hospitality that welcomes visitors with open arms, offering them a glimpse into a way of life that is as enduring as the land itself. One of the first things I noticed about the Slovenians was how incredibly friendly they are. As I wandered through the streets of Ljubljana, the capital city, I was often greeted with smiles and small, friendly gestures. People would strike up conversations with me, offering directions or simply chatting about life in the city. It wasn't long before I realized that this openness and friendliness extended far beyond the urban centers, it was part of the fabric of Slovenian life. Whether in a cafe, at a market, or on a mountain trail, I was met with the same warmth. This sense of hospitality is rooted in Slovenia's history. For centuries, the country has been a crossroads of cultures, exposed to the influences of the Romans, the Venetians, the Austro-Hungarians, and the Slavs. This diverse heritage has woven a rich tapestry of traditions and customs that reflect the country's complex past. The Slovenians are proud of their ability to preserve their cultural identity, even as they have been shaped by the waves of history that have passed through this land. A perfect example of this is the language. Slovenian, or Slovencina, is one of the smallest languages in Europe, but it is a crucial part of the nation's identity. As I traveled through Slovenia, I was struck by how fiercely the Slovenians protect their language. While many people speak English, especially in cities, there's a deep respect for Slovenian, and it is spoken with pride in every village, every town, and every family. This connection to their language goes beyond mere words, it's a bridge that ties the people to their history, their literature, and their sense of belonging. The folk dances of Slovenia are more than just a form of entertainment, they are a way of preserving history. Each region of Slovenia has its own distinctive dances, songs, and costumes, all of which tell a unique story about the people who live there. The intricate movements of the dances, passed down from generation to generation, reflect the agricultural roots of the Slovenian people, their connection to the earth, and the joys and struggles of daily life. Watching these dances, I could feel the pride in every step, every twirl, and every note sung. Food is another way the Slovenians connect with their past, and every meal is a testament to the country's deep agricultural traditions. Slovenia's cuisine is a delicious blend of influences, from the Mediterranean to Central Europe and the Balkans, yet it retains its own distinct flavor. I was fortunate enough to sample some of the country's most iconic dishes, and each bite told a story of the land. One of my favorite experiences was sitting at a long wooden table in a village tavern, where I was treated to a hearty meal of potica, a traditional nut roll, skansi, a type of cornmeal porridge, and a glass of locally produced wine. The flavors were rich and comforting, made even better by the warmth of the Slovenian hospitality. Festivals and traditions, the pulse of Slovenia's cultural life. One of the most captivating aspects of Slovenian culture is its celebration of festivals and traditions. Every season in Slovenia is marked by celebrations that reflect the country's rich heritage, from centuries-old customs to contemporary festivities. These events are not just a means of marking time, they are living expressions of Slovenian identity, full of joy, music, and shared stories. As I moved from one region to another, it became clear that Slovenia's festivals are a reflection of the country's soul. The first festival I had the pleasure of experiencing was in Ljubljana, Slovenia's capital. The Ljubljana festival, held every summer, brings together music, dance, and theatre from all corners of the world. The streets of the city come alive with performances, open-air concerts, and theatrical productions, and there is an undeniable sense of excitement in the air. As I wandered through the cobbled streets of the old town, I was treated to an eclectic mix of classical music, jazz bands and street performers. The atmosphere was one of pure joy, as people of all ages gathered to enjoy the creative energy that filled the city. But while the Ljubljana festival is modern in its scope, Slovenia's festivals have deep historical roots that reach back centuries. One of the most iconic celebrations in Slovenia is the Triglav festival, held every year in the town of Tuj. Triglav is an ancient, pagan-inspired festival that heralds the arrival of spring. It is one of Slovenia's most famous and unique events, and it celebrates fertility, renewal, and the triumph of light over darkness. At the heart of the festival are the Kernti, mythical creatures clad in elaborate costumes made of sheepskin, feathers, and bells. These creatures, with their horns and masks, dance through the streets, their loud bells ringing out as they chase away winter and usher in the warmth of spring. The Kernti are believed to have the power to ward off evil spirits and bring good fortune, and their appearance is a central part of the festival's magic. As I watched the Kernti dance through the streets, I could feel the energy of the past coming alive. This was a celebration of nature's cycles, of life, death, and rebirth. The Triglav festival is just one example of how Slovenia's festivals are deeply connected to the rhythms of the natural world. Another festival that stands out in this regard is the annual Harvest Festival in the countryside, which takes place in many villages throughout Slovenia. The Harvest Festival is a time for communities to come together to celebrate the bounty of the land, giving thanks for the food and resources that sustain them. The festival is filled with traditional Slovenian folk music, dancing, and feasts. Food is central to many Slovenian festivals, and the harvest celebrations offer a perfect glimpse into the country's culinary heritage. It was during the Harvest Festival that I had my first taste of a dish that would become one of my favorites, Idrichski's likrofi, a traditional Slovenian dumpling filled with herbed potato and meat, served with rich gravy. The simple but flavorful dish encapsulated the essence of Slovenian cuisine, earthy, comforting, and deeply tied to the land. Slovenia's culinary heritage, a feast for the senses. As I journeyed through Slovenia, it became apparent that one of the most profound ways to connect with the soul of this country was through its food. Slovenia's cuisine is a true reflection of the country's diverse landscape and rich cultural heritage. From the Mediterranean coastline to the rolling hills of the countryside and the alpine peaks of the north, Slovenian food is a beautiful mix of influences, all deeply rooted in tradition. What makes Slovenian cuisine so special, though, is its ability to blend the old with the new, offering a tantalizing experience for every palate, from rustic peasant dishes to contemporary gourmet creations. Food is an essential part of Slovenian culture, bringing people together in ways that go beyond simple nourishment. It's a symbol of family, community, and the bond between the people and their land. As I tasted my way across the country, I discovered that each region has its own distinct flavors, ingredients, and culinary traditions, making Slovenian cuisine a true mosaic of tastes. The first meal I had in Slovenia was in the capital city of Ljubljana, at a charming little restaurant tucked along the Ljubljanica River. The menu was a beautiful blend of traditional Slovenian dishes with a modern twist. I began with a plate of jota, a hearty soup made with sauerkraut, beans, potatoes, and smoked pork. It was the perfect introduction to Slovenian comfort food, rich, satisfying, and full of earthy flavors that spoke to the country's agrarian roots. The tangy bite of the sauerkraut mixed perfectly with the creamy beans, and the smoky pork added depth to the dish. It was a meal that made me feel instantly at home, as though I had been invited into the heart of Slovenian family life. One of the most fascinating aspects of Slovenian cuisine is how it reflects the country's geography. Slovenia's varied landscape, from the Mediterranean to the Alps, has given rise to distinct regional dishes that highlight the country's incredible biodiversity. The Istrian region, located in the southwest of Slovenia, is known for its Mediterranean flavors. Here, olive oil is a cornerstone of cooking, and seafood dishes are a staple. I had the privilege of visiting a small coastal town near Koper, where I experienced a traditional seafood feast. Freshly caught fish, calamari, and shellfish were served with simple, flavorful sides like roasted vegetables, herbs, and of course, the finest extra virgin olive oil. The flavors of the sea were perfectly complemented by a glass of crisp, local white wine, Malvasia, which brought out the freshness of the seafood. Just a short distance away from the coastal region lies the wine-producing region of Primorska, where vineyards stretch as far as the eye can see. Slovenian wines are a point of great pride for the locals, and it didn't take long for me to understand why. The country's winemaking tradition dates back thousands of years, and Slovenia is home to some of the oldest vineyards in the world. I had the honor of visiting one such vineyard, nestled in the hills of Breda, where I was greeted by the owner, a third-generation winemaker. As we toured the vineyards, he explained the unique terroir of the region and the care that goes into producing their wines. The wines of Slovenia, especially those from Breda, are rich and full-bodied, with flavors that reflect the country's diverse landscape, from the floral notes of the white wines to the deep, earthy tones of the reds. The experience of sitting on a terrace overlooking the rolling hills of the Breda region, sipping wine, and eating a plate of local prosciutto, air-dried ham, and formaggio cheese, was one of those rare moments where everything came together perfectly: the food, the wine, the people, and the land. The mountainous regions of Slovenia also have their own culinary traditions, influenced by the more temperate climate, and the centuries-old farming practices of the alpine communities. In the north, I visited the region of Koroška, where the food is hearty and designed to withstand the colder temperatures. Here, I sampled skanci, a thick porridge made from buckwheat flour, often served with pork cracklings or sauerkraut. It was a simple but satisfying dish, reflecting the hard-working, self-sufficient nature of the Slovenian Highlanders. Another dish I enjoyed in this region was trinnik, a traditional cheese that is unique to the area. Made from sheep's milk, trinnik has a dense texture and a slightly tangy taste. It is often shaped into intricate forms, making it as beautiful to look at as it is to eat. Eating it with a slice of dark rye bread and a glass of kajsk, a regional red wine, felt like a true taste of the Slovenian Alps. As I traveled through Slovenia, I also learned that food plays a central role in the country's festivals and celebrations. For example, during the annual St. Martin's Day celebration, which marks the end of the wine harvest, Mladi vino, new wine, is a traditional drink that is poured in abundance. Alongside the wine, there are hearty meals, often featuring roasted goose or duck, which are prepared and shared with friends and family. It's a time for locals to gather, reflect on the year's harvest, and celebrate the fruits of their labor with food, drink, and song. The Slovenian passion for food extends beyond the traditional. Slovenia has seen a rise in the number of contemporary chefs who are putting a modern spin on traditional dishes. In Ljubljana, I visited one such restaurant, where the chef was using locally sourced ingredients in innovative ways to create gourmet interpretations of classic Slovenian dishes. The result was a menu that highlighted Slovenia's natural bounty while also embracing global influences. One of the dishes I had was a reinterpretation of potica, a traditional Slovenian nut roll. The chef had taken the classic dessert and added a contemporary twist by incorporating dark chocolate and local berries into the filling, creating a balance between the richness of the potica and the tartness of the fruit. It was a perfect example of how Slovenian chefs are blending tradition with innovation, creating a culinary landscape that is both deeply rooted in the past and excited about the future. Slovenia's natural beauty, a land of diverse landscapes. Slovenia, a small country nestled in the heart of Europe, is often described as a land of surprising contrasts, where towering mountains meet serene lakes, dense forests transition into sun-kissed vineyards, and rugged coasts touch calm, crystalline waters. Slovenia's natural beauty is a mosaic of diverse landscapes, each one more breathtaking than the last. Whether it's the jagged peaks of the Alps, the lush green valleys of the interior, or the tranquil rivers and lakes that seem to appear from nowhere, Slovenia offers a stunning range of environments that captivate the imagination and stir the soul. My journey through Slovenia began in the north, where the mighty Alps rise up, their snow-capped peaks touching the sky. The Julian Alps, Slovenia's most famous mountain range, are a hiker's paradise. It was here that I first encountered the spellbinding beauty of Lake Bled. A sparkling gem surrounded by mountains, Lake Bled is one of Slovenia's most iconic landscapes, and for good reason. As I stood on the shores of the lake, gazing out at the church on the island, I felt as though I had stepped into another world. I took a traditional Pletna boat out to the island, rowing across the calm waters. The tranquility of the lake, coupled with the fresh mountain air, was invigorating. Upon reaching the island, I climbed the 99 steps up to the church, where I was rewarded with a panoramic view of the lake, the surrounding forest, and the distant mountains. From Lake Bled, I ventured south to the equally stunning Lake Bohinj, which lies in the heart of Triglav National Park, Slovenia's oldest and largest national park. While Lake Bled is undoubtedly picturesque, Lake Bohinj offers a sense of untouched wilderness, with its deep blue waters surrounded by towering mountains and dense forests. The lake is quieter, more remote, and offers a sense of solitude that makes it the perfect spot for hiking, kayaking, and simply being at one with nature. It was here that I truly understood the power of Slovenia's natural beauty, the kind that doesn't shout for attention, but quietly demands reverence. Triglav National Park, with its dramatic landscapes of alpine meadows, rugged cliffs, and crystalline rivers, is a treasure trove for nature lovers. The park is named after Mount Triglav, Slovenia's highest peak, which towers above the country at 2,864 meters. For centuries, Mount Triglav has been a symbol of Slovenia's national identity, and it's considered a rite of passage for Slovenians to climb it. The mountain stands as a reminder of Slovenia's deep connection to its land and its enduring pride in its natural heritage. While the mountains of Slovenia are undoubtedly impressive, the country also boasts an abundance of lush valleys, rivers, and forests that offer an entirely different kind of beauty. It's in the cast that one finds one of Slovenia's most iconic natural wonders, the Postojna Caves. These caves, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, are some of the largest and most spectacular cave systems in Europe. Walking through the caves felt like stepping into another world, a dark, mysterious realm where nature has created its most awe-inspiring masterpieces. Beyond the cast, Slovenia's many rivers add to the country's stunning natural tableau. The Soča River, flowing through the Julian Alps, is a paradise for outdoor enthusiasts. Known for its striking turquoise waters, the Soča River is a haven for kayaking, rafting, and fishing. As I stood on the banks of the river, I couldn't help but marvel at the clarity and vibrancy of the water, which seemed almost surreal. The river flows through a landscape that is both rugged and tranquil, with mountain views, emerald forests, and picturesque villages along its course. A hike along the Soča Trail gave me an up-close view of the river's changing moods, from its quiet, meandering sections to its more dramatic, fast-moving rapids. Slovenia's rivers and lakes are not just places for adventure, they are integral to the country's culture and history. The Ljubljana River, for example, is the lifeblood of the capital city of Ljubljana. The river has been the heart of the city for centuries, shaping its growth and development. As I walked along the river's banks, I passed by historic bridges, charming cafes, and the iconic Triple Bridge. The river's role in the city's culture is evident in its winding course through the city, offering both a picturesque backdrop and a sense of continuity through time. Slovenian traditions and festivals, celebrating life in every season in Slovenia. Tradition isn't just something to be remembered, it's something to be lived and celebrated. From the moment I arrived, I could sense that the people of Slovenia are deeply connected to their heritage, celebrating their culture through vibrant festivals, time-honored rituals, and the annual rhythms of the seasons. These traditions, passed down through generations, are a testament to the country's enduring identity, one shaped by its natural surroundings, history, and a deep respect for community. Slovenia's festivals offer a window into the heart of the country, revealing its soul in the laughter of its people, the music that fills the air, and the foods that bring families and communities together. Whether it's a celebration of harvests, saints, or ancient customs, each festival tells a story of a people who know how to celebrate life, no matter the season. My first taste of Slovenia's rich tradition came in the capital, Ljubljana, where the city was preparing for the annual Ljubljana festival. This cultural event, which takes place throughout the summer, is one of Slovenia's most significant festivals, drawing performers from all over the world. The city's open-air venues come alive with music, theatre, and dance performances, turning Ljubljana into an open-air stage. As I strolled through the streets, I was captivated by the energy and excitement in the air, musicians playing folk tunes on street corners, dancers twirling in their colourful costumes, and artists showcasing their work in vibrant markets. The festival is a celebration of Slovenia's cultural diversity, blending international performances with local Slovenian talent. The central event I attended was a concert at the Roman Theatre, where Slovenia's Philharmonic Orchestra played a symphony under the stars. The atmosphere was electric, and the combination of the beautiful setting and the incredible music left me with a lasting sense of how deeply the Slovenian people value the arts and culture. But the festivals in Slovenia are not just about global performances, they also offer a deep dive into the country's local customs, folklore, and traditions. One such celebration that captivated me was the Kern in Tuj, Slovenia's oldest town. Held every year in February, this carnival-like festival is dedicated to the ancient Slovenian tradition of driving out winter and welcoming the arrival of spring. The festival's highlight is the arrival of the Kernti, mythical creatures dressed in elaborate costumes made from sheepskin, large bells, and masks. The Kernti are believed to bring fertility and prosperity to the land, and their wild, spirited dances and chants are meant to scare away evil spirits and drive winter into retreat. The streets of Tuj are filled with the sound of ringing bells as the Kernti parade through the town, accompanied by revelers in traditional attire, playing music, and celebrating the end of the cold season. The energy was contagious, and the revelry around me felt like a true expression of the Slovenian joy for life. The celebration of Kern Tuvnije is just one example of Slovenia's unique blend of ancient and contemporary traditions. The country's festivals are a beautiful mix of pre-Christian rituals, Catholic celebrations, and modern-day festivities. Each one offers an opportunity to connect with the land's deep cultural roots while enjoying the simple pleasures of life, laughter, music, food, and camaraderie. In the autumn, Slovenia's vineyards become the focal point of celebration during the St. Martin's Day festival. This event, which marks the end of the harvest season, is centered around wine and the annual production of the new wine, Mladi Vino. I visited the wine-growing region of Primorska, where the vineyards stretch across the rolling hills like a patchwork quilt. The festival is an opportunity for locals to gather, feast, and toast to the new wine, and it's one of the most anticipated events of the year. The streets come alive with music, food, and of course, wine. I joined a local family, who invited me to their home for a traditional St. Martin's feast. The meal was rich and hearty, featuring roasted goose, sausages, and fresh, local bread. As the evening progressed, we raised our glasses of Mladi Vino to celebrate the new harvest, savoring the light, fruity flavors of the wine that were perfectly complemented by the rich flavors of the food. The warmth and hospitality of the Slovenian people made the experience even more special, and I felt deeply connected to their way of life. Springtime in Slovenia is also a time of celebration, particularly in rural villages where the changing of the season is marked by colorful festivals. One such festival that I was fortunate enough to experience was the Pust Festival, which takes place in various Slovenian towns, particularly in the region of Notranjska. Much like the Kern Tuvnije, this festival marks the arrival of spring and involves masks, costumes, and lively processions. The people of Notranjska dress up as various characters from folklore, devils, witches, and magical creatures, and parade through the streets in an exuberant display of energy and merriment. This festive chaos is followed by traditional dances, food, and drink, and it is considered one of the most joyful events of the year. Watching the procession of masked figures dancing through the streets, I couldn't help but feel the deep-rooted connection to the land and its ancient traditions. It was a celebration not just of the changing seasons but of the spirit of the people who call Slovenia home. Slovenian cuisine, a journey through taste and tradition in Slovenia. Food is not just fuel, it is a reflection of history, geography, and the very spirit of the people. The country's cuisine is a delightful fusion of influences, from the Mediterranean and Alpine regions to the Balkans, shaped by centuries of diverse cultural exchanges. Slovenian food tells a story of local ingredients, family traditions, and the deep connection between the people and the land they inhabit. As I journeyed through the country, I was eager to taste the flavors that have defined this nation for centuries. Slovenia's culinary landscape is as diverse as its geography. From the rolling hills of the wine-growing regions to the rugged mountains and fertile plains, every region has its own specialties, all tied to the land and its natural bounty. Whether it's the fresh fish from the Adriatic coast, the hearty stews from the interior, or the sweet desserts from the alpine villages, Slovenian cuisine is a celebration of local, seasonal ingredients and the traditions that accompany their preparation. My culinary adventure began in Ljubljana, the capital city, where I was introduced to the heart of Slovenian gastronomy. The vibrant central market, located in the city center, is a food lover's paradise. The market is alive with the colors, sounds and smells of fresh produce, cured meats, cheeses, and artisanal products. As I walked through the aisles, I couldn't help but be drawn to the displays of Slovenian honey, jars of pickled vegetables, baskets of homemade bread, and wheels of cheese. The local farmers proudly offer the freshest ingredients, many of which are sourced from their own farms in the surrounding countryside. The market is not just a place to buy food, it's a place where Slovenes come together to share stories, recipes, and traditions. One of the first dishes I sampled in Ljubljana was jota, a hearty and flavorful stew that is a staple of Slovenian comfort food. Made with sauerkraut, beans, potatoes, and smoked pork, jota is the ultimate warming dish, perfect for the colder months. The deep, savory flavors of the stew were complemented by the richness of the smoked meat, and the tanginess of the sauerkraut added a refreshing contrast. As I sipped the warm broth, I realized that Slovenian food isn't just about taste, it's about the connection to the land and the seasons. This dish, like so many others, is rooted in the country's agricultural traditions, where ingredients are grown locally and prepared with care. The Mediterranean influence on Slovenian cuisine is particularly evident in the coastal regions of the country. Slovenia's brief but beautiful coastline along the Adriatic Sea is a culinary treasure trove. I made my way to the coastal town of Piran, where the aroma of fresh seafood filled the air. Slovenia's seafood offerings are a far cry from what I had expected. Here, the catch of the day is fresh, flavorful, and often served simply to allow the natural flavors to shine. I dined at a small family-owned restaurant overlooking the sea, where I enjoyed brancin, a Mediterranean sea bass grilled to perfection and served with a drizzle of olive oil, lemon, and fresh herbs. The simplicity of the dish was a reflection of the Slovenian approach to food, simple, fresh, and full of flavor. The salty breeze from the sea, combined with the taste of the fish, made for an unforgettable meal. Another coastal specialty that caught my attention was isterski fuzi, a type of homemade pasta native to the Istrian region, which straddles the borders of Slovenia and Croatia. The pasta is typically served with a rich truffle sauce, and I had the pleasure of sampling it in the charming seaside town of Isola. The earthy flavor of the truffles combined with the tender pasta created a dish that was as luxurious as it was comforting. Truffles are a prized ingredient in Slovenian cuisine, particularly in the region around the town of Ljubljana, where local farmers have been hunting for them for centuries. The tradition of truffle hunting is a reminder of Slovenia's deep connection to the land and its dedication to preserving culinary heritage. Moving inland, I found myself in the region of Predjama, where the cuisine is shaped by the fertile plains and the unique blend of Hungarian, Austrian, and Slovenian influences. Here, I was introduced to Prekmurska jibenica, a traditional layered pastry made with poppy seeds, apples, walnuts, and cheese. This dessert, rich in texture and flavor, tells the story of the diverse influences that have shaped the region. Each bite of the pastry was a sweet reminder of how Slovenian food tells the story of the people who have lived and worked on the land for centuries. I also tasted bograk, a hearty meat stew that is the equivalent of Hungarian goulash but uniquely Slovenian in its preparation. Made with a variety of meats, paprika, and potatoes. Bograk is a dish that has been perfected over generations, and it's often prepared for large family gatherings and community events. As I traveled through the country, I found that every region had its own distinct culinary identity. In the Alpine region, the flavors are heartier, with dishes like skansi, a type of polenta, and kravavis, blood sausage, taking center stage. The high-altitude climate means that the cuisine here is focused on preserving food for the long winters. Slovenes in the mountains are masters of curing, pickling, and drying, ensuring that their food supplies last until the next harvest. I visited a traditional Alpine farmhouse, where I was invited to try strukelji, a dough pastry filled with various fillings, from cheese and herbs to sweet fruits. The dough was soft and delicate, and the fillings were rich and flavorful. It was a dish that perfectly reflected the country's agricultural roots and the importance of local, seasonal ingredients. The Slovenian spirit, warmth, hospitality, and community traveling through Slovenia, it became abundantly clear to me that the true heart of the country lies in its people. It's not just about stunning landscapes, ancient castles, or historic towns, though all of these are remarkable, but it's the warmth, hospitality, and deep sense of community that makes Slovenia so special. Everywhere I went, I was welcomed with open arms, invited to share meals, stories, and experiences. In Slovenia, people do not just greet you, they invite you into their lives. From the bustling streets of Ljubljana to the quiet villages tucked away in the rolling hills, Slovenes exude an easygoing warmth that instantly makes you feel at home. It's the type of hospitality that transcends language barriers, where a simple smile and a shared moment over coffee or food become meaningful connections. It's in this hospitality, this embrace of visitors, that I began to understand the Slovenian spirit, a spirit deeply rooted in the values of family, community, and respect for the natural world. One of the first experiences that truly showcased Slovenian hospitality was in the capital, Ljubljana. I was exploring the city's old town when I stumbled upon a small, family-owned cafe. The owners were an elderly couple, who had been running the cafe for decades, and they immediately made me feel as if I had been a regular customer for years. Over steaming cups of cafe latte, they shared stories of Ljubljana's past, from its medieval beginnings to its transformation into the vibrant city it is today. The couple's kindness was overwhelming. They treated me not as a tourist, but as a long-lost friend. When I expressed my admiration for their cafe's unique interior, they took me behind the counter to show me some of the homemade pastries they'd been baking since they first opened. Their warmth, the shared cup of coffee, and the intimate conversation about the history of the city left a lasting impression on me. This was Slovenia at its best, simple, genuine, and full of heart. As I ventured into the countryside, I discovered that this sense of hospitality is not just limited to cities. In the rural regions, particularly in the villages of the Karst and the Alps, the concept of kleka gostilna, a traditional farmhouse inn, is a central part of Slovenian life. I stayed with a local family in a small village in the hills, where the hosts welcomed me as if I were part of their family. The experience of staying in a farmhouse wasn't just about the comforts of the accommodation, but the intimacy of the connection. They took me on a tour of their farm, showing me how they grew their food, cared for their animals, and harvested their own produce. That evening, we sat down to a home-cooked meal made entirely from ingredients grown and raised on the farm. The food was simple but incredibly delicious: fresh cheese, cured meats, and freshly baked bread, all served with homemade wine from the family's vineyard. But it wasn't just the food that made the experience so special, it was the conversation, the laughter, and the sense of belonging that permeated the evening. In Slovenia, meals are not just about eating, they are about sharing. They are an opportunity to connect with one another, to exchange stories, and to celebrate the bonds that unite us as humans. I was struck by how Slovenes truly appreciate the time spent together over food, whether it's a casual meal with friends or a celebratory feast during a festival. It's a reminder that, in Slovenia, community comes first. One of the most unique aspects of Slovenian culture is the concept of gostoljubnost, which translates to hospitality or the love of guests. This idea goes beyond merely offering food and shelter to visitors. It's about sharing what you have, treating others with kindness, and making them feel like part of your world. I witnessed this in the tiny village of Škofja Loka, where I spent an afternoon with a local family. They invited me to join in a centuries-old tradition of picking wild herbs in the hills around their village. As we walked through the forest, the family explained how the herbs were used in traditional Slovenian medicine and cooking. They shared tales of their ancestors, who had relied on these herbs to heal and nourish the community. After gathering the herbs, we returned to their home, where the family prepared a meal using the very plants we had just picked. This gesture of sharing knowledge, food, and history was a powerful reminder of how connected Slovenes are to the land and to each other. Slovenes are also known for their love of gatherings, and I was fortunate enough to be invited to several community events during my travels. In the small town of Idrija, famous for its lace-making heritage, I attended a local festival celebrating the town's history and culture. The streets were filled with music, dance, and the sounds of laughter as locals and visitors mingled. It was clear that these festivals weren't just for entertainment, they were a way to preserve their cultural identity, to pass down knowledge, and to reinforce the bonds of community. Slovenian art and architecture, a blend of tradition and innovation. As I wandered through the streets of Slovenia, I began to see the country through a new lens, the lens of creativity, artistry, and craftsmanship. Slovenia, with its rich cultural heritage and diverse influences, is a land where art and architecture are not just forms of expression, but also reflections of history, identity, and the interplay between the past and the present. Slovenia's artistic journey has been long and multifaceted, influenced by a blend of cultural currents, from the Roman era to the Baroque period, the Renaissance to the modern day. As I explored, I discovered that the architecture and art here tell the story of a country that has been a crossroads of civilizations, where Eastern and Western influences have come together in unique ways. It's in the ornate churches, the colorful facades of Ljubljana, the simple elegance of rural cottages, and the contemporary designs that now grace the urban landscape. Slovenia is a country where tradition and innovation exist in perfect harmony. My adventure through Slovenian art and architecture began in Ljubljana, the country's capital, which boasts an eclectic mix of architectural styles. The city's medieval old town is a labyrinth of narrow streets, cobblestone alleys, and charming squares, all dominated by the iconic Ljubljana Castle. Perched high above the city, the castle offers a panoramic view of the surrounding area, but it's also a symbol of the city's past. The castle, which dates back to the 11th century, has been expanded and renovated over the centuries, blending Romanesque, Gothic, and Renaissance elements. Its towers, walls, and courtyards are a testament to Slovenia's rich history and its enduring spirit. One of the most striking features of Ljubljana's architectural landscape is the work of architect Jože Plečnik, often regarded as Slovenia's greatest architect. Plečnik's influence can be seen all over the city, where his modernist designs blend seamlessly with the traditional. The bridge consists of 3 separate bridges, 2 pedestrian bridges flanking a central, vehicular bridge. Plečnik's use of classical columns, arches, and modern materials creates a striking contrast with the medieval buildings that line the river. The bridge is a perfect example of how Slovenian architecture honors the past while embracing the future. Another of Plečnik's masterpieces is the National and University Library of Slovenia, a building that is both functional and aesthetically stunning. The library's design is rooted in classical forms, yet it incorporates modernist elements, creating a harmonious space that reflects the country's intellectual and cultural ambitions. Plečnik's architecture isn't just about creating buildings, it's about creating spaces that foster community, knowledge, and creativity. As I walked through the city, I couldn't help but be enchanted by the vibrant facades of the buildings. Ljubljana's architecture is a patchwork quilt of styles, Baroque, Art Nouveau, and Renaissance, all woven together in a way that gives the city its unique character. The colorful buildings along the Ljubljanica River are a testament to the city's love of art and beauty. It's clear that Slovenians take great pride in preserving their architectural heritage, even as they move forward into the future. Leaving Ljubljana behind, I ventured into the countryside, where Slovenia's architectural heritage takes on a different form. In the rural regions, traditional Slovenian farmhouses, or krti, stand as symbols of the country's agricultural roots. These sturdy homes, with their steep roofs and wooden shutters, are often nestled among vineyards, orchards, and fields of crops. The architecture here is simple yet functional, designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the alpine climate. These houses often feature large, communal spaces for family gatherings, reflecting the close-knit nature of Slovenian society. The village of Radovljica, near Lake Bled, is an excellent example of Slovenia's rural architecture. Its charming medieval town centre is filled with well-preserved buildings that showcase the craftsmanship of past generations. The houses, with their brightly coloured facades and intricate wooden details, tell the story of a bygone era, when artisans and craftsmen played a central role in Slovenian life. The local museum in Radovljica offers a fascinating glimpse into the town's history, including the traditional wooden clogs and lace that were once made here. Slovenian churches are another integral part of the country's architectural heritage, blending elements of Romanesque, Gothic, and Baroque styles. The Church of St. Nicholas in Ljubljana, with its green copper dome and ornate interior, is a beautiful example of Baroque architecture. The frescoes that adorn its walls, depicting biblical scenes and saints, are a testament to the country's rich religious history.